what make you praise his soul. He make a praise and she make a praise and you make a praise and soul. He make a praise and she make a praise and you make a praise and more. Lily girl, what make you praise his soul. Lily girl, what make you praise his soul. Lily girl, lily girl, lily girl. Lily girl, what make you praise his soul. Lily girl, what make you praise his soul. Come out to 14 and into 15 and make a praise his soul. Come out to 14 and into 15 and make a praise his soul. Lily girl, what make you praise his soul. Lily girl, what make you praise his soul. A big man the down and a man on the island and make a praise his soul. A big man the down and a man on the island and make a praise his soul. Stupid Gary, left him mommy, go marry, go one gold ring, stupid gold ring. Stupid lily girl, what make you praise his soul? Lily girl, what make you.
A pleasant good Saturday afternoon to everyone, and welcome to Over to You. I'm your host, Wayne Caesar, soon to be joined by my co-host and colleague, Mr. Jason Benjamin. Again, it's a pleasure to be coming into the homes of each and every one of you on this Saturday afternoon. I know it's pretty cloudy here, and I know in Guyana I've been hearing of, a lot of sun, a lot of heat. So I hope you're having a nice, warm Saturday afternoon in Guyana. And for all those who are listening in all the other Caribbean countries, in the UK, in Canada, in the US, and anywhere you may be listening, around the world, welcome to Over to You. We do have some interesting topics for this evening, and I will get into those once my co-host um joins on. But just to give you, Jason, welcome to Over to You again. This is our second edition. How are you, sir? How are you keeping?
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Thank you. Good afternoon, audiences. It is imperative that you listen attentively to what we have to say, since we guarantee you leaving here with the best of knowledge. Most important, if you are not registered, know that you're in the wrong forum. I say this to encourage you to get registered. Doing so gives you that opportunity to exercise your franchise in a way that would see the needed change for Guyana. Thank you.
I know, Jason, last week we would have really focused on our focus was so on the youth, right? And the importance of them being registered in order to be able to execute their democratic right by voting. And, though our focus is going to still be on those youths, I want to welcome the middle-aged Guyanese and, even the older Guyanese, because it would have been a rough ride for those people over the past 30 years, Jason. I know you would agree to that with how things have gone across Guyana. And you know something, Jason, it's very important for those people who are already registered to just check in and make sure that their names are there on that list also, right? Don't you think that that would be an important exercise also for them to make sure that their names are there? So when they show up for voting, you're not told, oh, your name is not on the list.
I would agree with you. Complacency should never be the catchword for us, and neither none of the Guyanese citizens should allow themselves to fall prey to that and be in such an uncomfortable setting. And so, as my grandmother would remind me daily, now that she's not here, most of her teachings imparted in me come to the forefront of my mind. And so that one is simply trust but verify. So I want to encourage my Guyanese counterparts, especially my sisters and brothers, to verify that your name is on that list. And if it's not, you be sure to ensure that you get your name on that list. And to do so, you have to, it's not you might, you have to get registered to be a part of this change that Guyana is in dire need of.
Jason, I'm so happy that you would have invoked your grandmother and her teachings, because that kind of aligns with one of the things that we spoke about on Friday on the Straight Up Show about the importance of family, the importance of having those breakfasts and dinners with everybody sitting at the table to discuss matters. So, you know, you don't just sit and eat, but you're edified. I knew there was a comment that came in that Guyanese are too stressed to sit at the table. Well, here, you can't afford to be too stressed, because you're stressed because you're being oppressed. So you cannot afford to get too stressed, you know, and not be a part of the change. You still have to find a way to sit down, have discourses with your children. And as Jason would have given us a range, anywhere between 14 and 18. You know, you need to start having discourses with these children. You need to edify them. You need to give them an understanding of what to expect and what they have to do, their due diligence as far as getting registered, as far as being prepared to vote, and as such, vote in the correct way. Because listen, Jason, we have already gotten quite a large sample of what the PPPC gives, right? And we see what they give. Okay, they're not inclusive. The Guyanese people are not inclusive in the plans of the government. So it has come to the point where we need a change. We need a change that puts the people first, because governments are in place to take care of the country and its people before anything else. Governments are not in place to run businesses and put businesses before its people. Over to you, Jason, if you have something that.
That's a very good point you made, because currently what we are seeing or witnessing in Guyana, it's where the people are definitely facing an economic apartheid, and more so, we also see where the installed regime operate in ways that begs more questions than answers. And so, as an individual or as a citizen of Guyana, one wonders, you're in a setting where there is so much more still to be desired whenever you look at the installed regime and how they are functioning, especially with the finances being garnered from many of the resources around the country. That in itself, it begs, it helps, or it should help, I would say, the individuals or Guyanese to reflect and see where do they fit into all of this. And in truth, if that does not propel the intrinsic reward or the intrinsic motivation for you to get up and want to be a part of this change that is coming to either 2024 or 2025, in terms of for you to be a part of that, you have to get registered. So if there is nothing inwardly motivating you after seeing all the atrocities being perpetrated by the corrupt PPP regime onto the people, and it's not just Black people, it's anyone who supports another party other than the PPP. And so everyone is feeling the brunt of it, even the PPP own feeling the brunt of it, because they are being used as tools to help set friends, families, and cronies, trench crappos, as others would say, and all tadpoles, and all these different things. But the truth is that the situations that are currently unfolding around Guyana and within your immediate sphere should be it should be allowed, should be igniting you as an individual to not just get upset, but to redirect that anger in wanting to ensure that going forward, you want to see your name on that registration, that list. That list is critical. But to do that, as someone asked earlier in the thread about where to register, GCOM office is the place for that. There is a GCOM office in your wherever you go. There's an area designated for that. But you can also contact GCOM to get that identified area, or speak with your counselor, speak with the leaders in the constituaries, and they can give you that information and direct you to that. And as you know, like we said, you don't just stop there. Each one teach one. Find out if another person is on that list. Get the momentum going. Do not wait for elections. Do not wait for when GCOM kickstarts the process. You be the one to influence the change needed to see Guyana in a better sphere, in a better direction, and a path that offers prosperity for all. Looking at another, just to pull away from what you were discussing in terms of Guyanese people being stressed out. So they're not only stressed out, but because of the economic hardship being perpetrated to them, what you're all seeing, they're hungry. Many nights you don't know where the next plate is coming from. And these are the realities people are facing. You understand? And so this is Guyana. This is the technologically advanced era. This is the era where many extractives from beneath the earth, fossil fuel, one such, is bringing so much wealth to the country. Even though the contract is shabby, you're still getting somewhat from it. Look, 2023 alone, in half the year, ExxonMobil made 4 billion US dollars. What did Guyana receive from it? A measly 600 plus million dollars. But guess what? That money can still, it's only not even a million in Guyana's population, and everyone cannot. People should be able to get an income every fortnight from that proceed. It belongs to us as the people. But guess what? We have an uncaring installed regime at the top, just catering for family, friends, and cronies, but to the most part, for themselves as turncoats. And if we do not stop that madness, then we will continue to suffer. We can look internationally, we can look nationally, and so on. But in truth, the answer is within us, we the human beings. Know your worth, know your value. What You are precious, I am precious. We are all phenomenal people, and until we can recognize that and stop looking at Black and East Indian and Chinese and Amerindians and so on, recognize we are all Guyanese. You think Guyanese, you would operate different. You get that love for one another. And until we can find ourselves in that setting, you understand, we can effect the change we need to see, because we will be thinking not in a mediocre stage, but a stage of par excellence where we can definitely think and walk together in unity. All of our strength is in unity, and all of our danger is in discord. But again, while we have a mind of our own, and some of us who fail to utilize or to make use of what is within their ambit, failing to do such, you are adding to the process of punishment. If you use your mental faculty and interact, get cohesiveness among people who are moving in a positive direction towards job security, learning a trade, all these little things, we would not find ourselves in a position where, because we are being economically starved, we are stressed and hungry around the table of a family to discuss what is pertinent for our development going forward. The truth is, each and every one of us story is important to the process, and therefore, in on that note, we must ensure that our names are on that list. To do that, you have to go to GCOM. Why? Every one of us should be paid our right share from the oil proceeds. Every Guyanese by birth, not Venezuelans. Every Guyanese by birth. That's a topic we'll be discussing shortly. But every Guyanese by birth should and must be given their fair share financially into their bank accounts. We don't need to have a government of the day walking around with large sums of cash trying to give grants and give pittance to people or some selective few and so on. That's utter nonsense. That's room for corruption. It's fraudulent. You understand? We should have a structured system where ministries are being strengthened with the finances coming or generating from our resources and strengthened in a way where it trickles down to the man in the street. Every person should be taken care of. We deserve better. And at this stage, if you're not stirred up or you're not upset with what is unfolding, then something is definitely wrong with you. But at this stage, we need to make use of our index finger. So go get registered, stand up and fight for what is right. Fight for democracy. Thank you.
Well said, Jason. Well said. That was a lot there to digest, but I hope that you people are being edified here by what Jason has to say. And Jason, it is so true. I think sometimes people get it a bit misconstrued, when it comes to who holds the power in Guyana. A lot of people are of the opinion that it's the PPPC that holds the power in Guyana. The PPPC does not hold the power in Guyana. They were placed there. What Jason is speaking of is that the power of Guyana lays in your index finger and where you decide to put it come 2024, 2025, whichever comes first. If we're going to have a snap elections or if we're going to go out the whole term and have elections at the end of the term. So that is important for the people to understand. And Jason, some people might be a little bit slow to react. And, when they're slow to react, I don't lose patience with them. Why? Because for those 23 years that the Guyanese people were under the thumb and Barra Jagdeo had his knees on their neck, he would have conditioned them in such a way that they felt that they were powerless. So now it is upon us to now empower and edify the Guyanese people. Give them that understanding that it is their vote. It is they who will determine where Guyana goes from here. And that 2025, I'm going to take back one thing that I once said, Jason. I thought that the 2020 elections would have been the most critical elections in the history of Guyana. But no, the 2025 elections is going to trump that one. And the people have to understand. The PPPC have already given you guys a good, large sample, not a small sample, a large sample of what they are about. They did it for 23 years. They got a little 5-year break with the coalition being there. We see what the coalition did over those 5 years. Even Mr. Glenlal and Mr. Glenlal, if you were around or watching this program, a pleasant good afternoon to you. He would have talked about how GPL operated under the coalition, amongst other things. And he's critical of both parties, and that's fine. You have to be open. You have to be unbiased. Okay? But we had a safe country, Jason. We had a country that was extremely safe. We had protected borders. We did not have an influx of people coming into our country. Our services started to pick up from the passport office to other services. Health services, Miss Walda Lawrence, if you're watching, excellent job. Well done. We need some more of that. It's important to have our public institutions available to Guyanese. Public institutions are very, very, very important. The credit union needs to stay with the Guyanese people. We see how this installed government is spreading their arms. Okay, they have already spread it through the Guyana Police Force and through GCOM. They're in the judiciary to a point, in that they choose not to confirm some of the highest portfolios in the judiciary. Okay? We have to understand it is imperative that we vote for change. That is the only way Guyana survives here. This is the only way Guyana survives here. And Jason and I will touch a little bit more on how the PPPC is trying to change the whole voting demographics across Guyana. You know, we are going to touch on that. And Region 4 is going to be one of our main targets. Over to you, Jason, if you have anything else to add to this issue before we switch to our new topic. I don't know if the operator would be able to give us a commercial break before we switch to the new topic, but over to you, just in
Well,
case
I
you
would
are.
use this opportunity to remind Guyanese that the government of the day is accountable to us, the people, not the other way around. We are not accountable to them. We hired them for the job to be done. And at this stage, we see where the PPP did not win the 2020 elections. It was rigged and rigged bigly. And yet, they came out in a braggadocious manner, speaking all sorts of ills, trying to redirect their arrows in a way to control the narrative. But everyone, even internationally, is aware that the PPP rigged the elections 2020 and they were installed as a result of international foes, the A, B, C, and E. And so, again, ask them one thing: let us take the petition into the courts. Don't try to stymie the process. Let us do it. You're holding on to people for all sorts of farce or all sorts of ill means without evidence. But yet, for all, we the people must look at these situations and not become fearful. You understand? We have not been given the spirit of fear. We have been given the spirit, we have been given power, love, and a sound mind. Utilize that sound mind and think, assess, reason, rationalize, and you'll understand and you'll see for yourself that guess what? We can make the difference for our country if we unite as a people and force the PPP out of office. How will we force them? By the use of our index finger. Vote for Guyana to grow. The PPP must go. Thank you.
Very, very well said, Jason. Very, very well said. For Guyana to grow, the PPPC has to go indeed. Indeed, they have had their time, they have had their opportunity. I know, you know, when you go into the communities, especially the Indo-Guyanese communities, a lot of people's, the rhetoric is that, we don't want to be led by an Afro-Guyanese leader. It's not about who leads you. It's about that person's ability to execute the mandate of serving the Guyanese people, all the Guyanese people, not a portion, not one Guyana focus on the Indo population of the country, not one Guyana focus on the Afro population of the country, not one Guyana focus on the other four ethnic groups of the country, but a Guyana, a one people, one nation. That nation is Guyana, Jason, and one destiny, that all Guyanese should be equally treated. And the distribution of wealth should be done evenly across the board. Because in the 23 years that the PPP was in power, as a public accountant, I have been sniffing out certain things. And it is our opinion that the taxpayers' money was pooled and distributed to certain individuals to grow these massive businesses that we see today. These massive businesses that we see today.
I think there is maybe the PPP is trying not to get us to convey those messages to you, but nonetheless, we will continue by all means
Yes.
necessary. Go ahead.
Yes, Jason. Sorry about that. My internet is giving some issue. Yeah, they don't just appear like that. You understand? These people got their money, whether it was through the propped up drug economy that we had over those 23 years, that the economy was, kind of showing like if it was growing and if it was in a great position, it was stable. But after the coalition would have take over and put a lid on all the drug trafficking, we see how volatile the Guyana economy was. So people, it's not that you don't have a history of what the PPPC would have done over the years to Guyana, which is absolutely nothing. A few buildings going up here, some road work being done. Jason, GPL is still having blackouts every night, every day. We're seeing blackouts. Our hospitals are now well maintained. Over the last 3 years, how many mothers we had, you know, die in child's birth at the Georgetown Public Hospital, amongst other hospitals across the country. We can't have this, man. We're in the 21st century. We can't have these things happening in our country. And these are things that we need to change. So, in closing off this segment, I encourage all Guyanese to take what we would have fed you here. You know, don't just go based on what myself and Jason would have just said. I want you to internalize it, analyze it, examine yourselves, examine yourselves, see what you have been doing and what you can do to help to remedy this situation that the current born and bred everyday Guyanese is experiencing at the present moment in the great cooperative republic of Guyana. Jason, we're going to switch gears.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow you to open up the next segment.
Thank you.
You can go ahead, Jason.
Oh, I thought we were getting the intermission.
No, 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 no. No, the operator may not have been able to get the commercials and stuff ready. That's fine. We'll go
Oh,
straight into the next session.
okay, thank you. Okay, so what we are actually seeing as we let me take it back. Look at what we just discussed. And just before our eyes, we see all these structures are broken. Institutions are not being strengthened. And so you have fraudulent activities spiraling. And now we're seeing a trail off or a trade off from that spiraling activity for some ministries. If we recall, as Wayne mentioned, history, it is important to know our history. We don't have to be historians, but it is important to know key aspects of our history so that it helps us to make informed decisions. Now, I say this to say, do we remember sometime in 2015 or just before where pathological liar Barajagdio attempted to give Venezuela some parts of the sovereignty in the waterways? And to me, in itself, that's a treasonous act. Then we also witness where Guyana, a case was put into the courts in defending Guyana's rights. But then we also noticed the same pathological liar, siding with ExxonMobil to 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 cancel or to upside what rightfully belongs to Guyana. That in itself is alarming. Something is definitely wrong with the PPP regime. Now, coupled with those two examples I give, we also see how people are falling by the wayside for by being influenced with money. They're easy because we're stressed out, we're hungry, we don't know where our next meal coming from, and so it appears or it comes over as a means to survival. When the man in the street sees or is influenced by that kind of setting or reality, it is a dangerous time for Guyana. You and I cannot walk with a sneakers, gold chain, or what. It tells based on where you are, which area you're in, you become a target, and that kind of thing, really and truly, is not good. Poverty leads to a feeling of dispossession, and so here is where you find that all of these broken arrows kind of putting an off balance setting in the lives of Guyanese. And at this juncture, we are seeing an influx of Venezuelans crossing our borders. We don't know if they are soldiers in the midst. We also we are positive rather that they are undocumented, right? What is the installed regime doing? You're not hearing much about it. Then we also saw where they introduce Policia and they bring it in the Spanish version. But did they forget we also have Portuguese, Chinese, and other Amerindians and all other races within the thing? Why not bring one across the board, all the languages? But instead, they made it fit to just pour Spanish out into the public domain.
Jason, Jason,
Oh,
you wanna stick a pin there because
go
I
ahead, go
may
ahead.
have something to add that is just relevant to what you're saying now. I don't want you to go on too further and it to be lost. And you know, Jason, your point is excellent. And you would have said earlier, and I would have said earlier, we need to know and we need to understand our history, right, Jason?
Very well.
History is so important. You know, I say this to say this. History, Jason, has a way of repeating itself, my brother. You know, and this situation here is the perfect situation. After emancipation, Jason, what did the Europeans do? They landed the Indians in Guyana as indentured servants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was the lock. That was the lock. The African slaves. You understand me? Block them from having any economical way forward in the country and lock them out of any economical gain in Guyana, right? And what is happening here again with the influx of Venezuelans? The same will occur.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to pay the born and bred Guyanese what he or she deserves. You're going to get a Venezuelan to do the same job for much less because those people are really, really in need. And remember, they are making a transition from one country to another. And when you're in that bind, Jason, you will take anything that is thrown at you, you know, to be able to sustain your family because a lot of these people are coming over with an entire family. We saw a set arrived on the West Coast just a few days ago, you know. And these are the things that are concerning. That's why we are calling on our Guyanese brothers and sisters to really wake up and see what's happening. Now, Jason, I'm going to allow you to continue. Please, sir.
Yes, so and that was a quite fitting example there too, because what I'm getting at is that we as citizens we need to be vigilant. We must be vigilant. You understand? What we're also seeing is that, or let me put it this way, we don't know of Venezuelan soldiers crossing the border also, camouflage. Our security sector needs to be needs to be improved. It's a dire need, whether be it by technology or what it needs to be improved. What we are seeing also is the uneducated nincompoop for a commissioner of police. He doesn't even know how to speak Spanish, by the way, but yet he's decked out with that brand Policia, and he allows it. He doesn't know better. He would continue to be a stooge of Barajagdio and his likings. But what you're seeing is the point I'm getting at, right? We all know this, but I want to show you the motive for the Policia, this Spanish. You forgot all the other languages, but yet you brought this Spanish. When we look at 2020 elections, the breakdown of it, we recognize the one seat majority. PPP knows very well they cannot win elections if they come clean. And so, this paradigm shift of trying to infiltrate anywhere necessary by any means necessary, you see the influx of Venezuelans. But look back at the history again, we also saw what they did to other our the Haitian brothers and sisters, our Caribbean counterparts. And now they are forced to get visa to come to Guyana, which is wrong. Yet the Venezuelans are allowed. Yet the East Indians, India, they are allowed in the coming in numbers. What it points to is votes by any means necessary. Now, if we look back at history again, we are comparing and contrasting. If we look back at the same 2020 elections, did did we see any electoral document with Spanish writing in it? Absolutely no. There was none. 2024, 2025. Watch out. And you this is the first place you're hearing it. Watch out for the Spanish writing on those documents. Watch out. You understand? So I am of the view that based on the historical facts and the current day events, that this is a trickery or a clandestine operation by Jagdeo to find a way to communicate to the Venezuelan counterparts who got fake birth certificates, fake documentation to say that they are citizens of this country, but yet they don't even know primary school, secondary school, or any school they went to. They cannot point to any area outside of where they would have crossed the border. And they got these documents by crooked or ill gotten means. And so it's fraudulent. But you would see documents in the Spanish version to now appeal to these people to vote for them. Well, of course, they have to be fools to do that. But again, here is where, as a people, we must, we must get that list cleansed. The voters list is padded, it's tampered with. And while I appeal and I implore and I encourage and I call upon every right thinking Guyanese, those who are not registered, to get registered, it's imperative that we not only get a new voters list, but we get the use of biometrics to be used in such a setting to flush out many of these inconsistencies, right? And this is where I want to just leave this part for us to reason while we go along on this next phase of the conversation. But again, as Guyanese people, we have to understand what we see and be able to reason and make the right deductions. You cannot be stupid. You cannot operate stupid. You have to think. You see something, say something. Don't be muzzled, don't be fooled. Money is not all. You understand? We can make a difference if we work together, if we unite together, if we find common grounds to support each other, we can do it. All of our strength is in union. All of our danger is in discord. So I'm opening this floor, this conversation, to really address the security aspect or the piss poor security aspect our country now faces as a result of fraudulent activities and areas being tampered with by the Jagdeo regime because our fan is unable to lead, so he's just a puppet. And to see where all these broken structures now spiraling or oozing into what we are seeing daily unaccounted people over the border. But again, we have this issue at the ICJ, and so it's a very sensitive one. Do not take this situation lightly with the Venezuelans crossing the border. It's a security breach. There is need for immediate action. There is need for immediate interrelationship with each other and to watch our ways. We would not like to, or we would not want to encounter an insurgence at this time. We do not deserve that as a people. So our security sector is at risk. Over to you, Ian.
You know, Jason, excellent point. And, Jagdeo, I want you to understand one thing. When you were playing your games for those 23 years, among some other years, you weren't being challenged. But I think you was thinking that, the talent was not out there to challenge you. But I hope you're seeing what's happening now. Listen, this chess game is over. We are on to you. Your tricks are very simple, very solvable. Okay? We have a very good understanding of where you're going with everything, and we're on to you. We're in front of you. We're going to keep you on the back foot, you on the entire PPPC. We are going to hold you guys accountable going forward here. Jason, I know it's 12 minutes to 6. We just have 12 minutes remaining on today's program. We're going to make the best use of this 12 minutes. When it comes to the influx of Venezuelans into Guyana, and yes, Jason, you're correct. Our borders are porous. Is that being done intentionally? I believe so. Because I could have recalled the coalition ordering drones, amongst other things, before they demit office. So these things should be available to the PPPC. Okay? They know and they have an understanding that these Venezuelans have been coming into Guyana. And they're purposely, okay, encouraging it. Why? They want to change the whole demographic of Region 4, in particularly Region 4. It hurts Barra Jagdeo that the PPPC could never win Region 4. It really hurts them. And they're trying to penetrate Linden also, Jason. But the people of Linden. I think the people of Linden is the example to the rest of Guyanese. Lindeners, they are no nonsense people. They don't stand nonsense. And we all across Guyana need to adapt that same value that the Londoners put out there. When it comes to togetherness, for the most part, those people are always on one accord. And with Sharma Solomon and Vanessa Kisun at the helm there, amongst others, Mr. Darren Adams, and also the deputy mayor, Linden is going to stay intact. Linden is not one to worry about. They're going to be fine. But Region 4, and Jason, I would have watched something the other day. I watched a short clip on Cherry Street with some Venezuelan overnight workers. I don't know what you want to call them, fighting in the streets. I'm like, what worthlessness? You only see this on the PPP regime whenever they're in place. There's an influx of drugs across the country. We have a lot of people on the pavement high. Our young people, Jason, has to be careful, because when they get incapacitated, people do all kind of things. This is why all these hotels are building out. This regime is wicked. This regime is wicked, and people need to be careful with their young children. We need to preserve our young people. There is going to be a future in Guyana after Barra Jagdeo. I think Barra Jagdeo is of the opinion, when God calls his name, that it's over for Guyana. That's absolutely not going to be the case. We have a lot of vibrant leaders in line who are way better than you are, who can execute the mandate of the people and not the mandate of corruption and corrupt practices. And as we move here to encourage our people to align themselves as one, to be on one accord, remember, together we can be successful. But for sure, if we're divided, we will fail. So let's come together. Let's be on one accord. I even call on PPP supporters, Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters. You need to vote to issues, man. Stop looking at who is the leader. Once that leader is executing for everybody, that should be the plan. The PPPC promised that they will open up all the sugar estates. Where has that happened? Where has that happened, Jason?
I want to make
I
a quick
don't want to get
interjection.
into all of that. Because
I
of
know, I
that,
know.
I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, I
I'm going
just
to hand
wanted
it
to
over.
make a quick interjection since I know we're pressed with time.
Yes.
Just to simply separate the trees from the forest, we have seen two things. And again, this afternoon is about contrasting and comparing. What we're seeing is where the PPP is about corruption, ill-gotten gains by any means necessary. The PNC, or the coalition in extension, they are people centered. You understand? So the two different entities. Now, if we add one thread of step to each side, you'll see the PPP, because of their base being all about corruption and fraudulent activities, their next step is simply infrastructure. And so, infrastructure, as we know, is the Pandora box where much pilfering can unfold. A lot of kleptomaniacs dwell in that domain. If we look to the other side, when you're people centered, the next set wouldn't be infrastructure. Here, why? Because we're seeing it differently. The most important resource are us, the people, you and me. You understand? And so, what do we really need? Our man's basic need is food, clothing, and shelter. You understand? Not that infrastructure is not important, but because of this economic apartheid being melted down on the people, our next thing is about survival. And this is why The next thing would be, you understand, on the people-centered side would be food security. You understand? Which points to Barnum's initiative. Plant or perish. You understand? So you have to go back to the lands. Many of our solutions are in farming. You understand? But if the side that deals with, note, a fraudulent foundation focusing on infrastructure to steal more, guess what? They need lands, so they're going to take lands away from the people, covet their rightful asset in and transfer it into theirs to generate ways to thieve more income. And so, as you go along those cycles of events, you can see the behavior of one side that is for you as against the other, which is not for you. And so, generally, if your foundation is unstable, you and I, as Guyanese, need to remind ourselves that, hey, my decision, the use of my index finger, is not just for me. It's not a selfish act. It may be done by one, but it is to protect our future generation also. So here is where, by you getting yourself registered to be on the voted list, which is currently padded, you understand, you are not only doing it for yourself, but the trickle down is you're also doing it for the future generation to make that change needed to pivot Guyana on a path that all of us can benefit. Likewise, our future generations do. You understand? They promise us schools, they promise us free education, and all these things. But guess what? To date, it's nothing. So what we're seeing, it's just more chance from a pathological liar. And the minute you resist, they try to shut you down by all means necessary. So, youths, again, I'm imploring on us, rationalize. Think before you speak. Think before you act. Learn to understand what you see and make the right deductions. Guyana only has 1 million, and I'm saying a million, never mind, I say 700,000, but I'm saying a million. And think about it, the amount of money is generated out of the ExxonMobil's initiative, oil. The amount of money is what, 1 billion US. A million people cannot get their own paycheck. So when you ask these questions and you dig deeper and you look at the two different foundations, you realize one group of people, people oriented, focus on the people, develop the people, education, schools, better hospitals, and so on. Those things can bring about the needed change for us. You understand? But when you just focusing on infrastructure and so on, fraudulent activities, at some point the system is going to crash. You understand? And so we do not want to be a part of no crashing system. We have to change the course. It is needed, it is imperative, and the time for doing that is now. Who can do it? You and me. How? By getting registered. Why we must get registered? So that we can exercise that infinite power and make it kinetic by pressing our index finger in that ink and place it on the X that rejects the PPP. For Guyana to grow, the PPP must go.
Excellent, Jason. Excellent. Well put. We're talking about a coalition that is more people centric. They put their human capital first, and we're talking about a PPPC install government that is more interested in the rich, friends, family, favorite, external business business clients engaged in business activities, whether underhand or overhand with Exxon amongst the other oil companies. Listen, Jason would have said it best. Your index finger is what is going to make it all count. The power is in you, and that same index finger I encourage the Guyanese people, and we're going to keep encouraging you on this program all the way up to whenever it is that elections occur, to exercise your power. The power is with you. It doesn't matter how many external forces, you understand me, try to infiltrate Guyana. The power still lies with the Guyanese people, because their vote is what gonna ultimately count. Don't worry about how much money is gonna be thrown your way to vote PPPC. Remember this: the money that comes your way, it's only gonna be temporary. I think, Jason, we went over this.
Yes, I just wanted to stick it right there to let
Instead of
them
you,
know that whenever any monies come your way, remember, it is not their money they're giving you, it is your money, it is
correct.
yours. So we take it, take all of it, and then what we do? Use that index finger to vote them out. Take an example, look back again, contrast and compare local government elections. Look what happened. We took everything. Lyndon set the example for that. We took everything, over 10 billion Guyana dollars. Yes, you think we wore the red jerseys and everything. But guess what? Some of us, we had to go back and spend some of that money to get the itch off your skin. You understand? Because it come with rash, you know. But again, we took that money, and guess what? We made use of it. So this is brain. You think before you act. And then what you do, because you're registered, together we use the index finger to reject the PPP. And that is just the stage being set for what is to be expected come 2024 or 2025. We can do this if we work together. Back to you, Wayne.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. And to the people of Guyana, I say to you, you can do it. Yes, you can. And we are going to do it. We are going to be successful. I want to thank everyone for coming in. Jason, do you have a last word you just want to share before
Oh,
I close out
definitely,
here?
definitely. I would like to use this opportunity to remind the audiences near and far the words of the late Albert Einstein. He reminded us that life is like a bicycle. Think about it practically like a bicycle. In order for us to maintain our balance, we have to pedal forward. And I am using that to remind us Guyanese that we have to pedal forward. We have to strike the balance and make that difference. So again, with the use of the index finger, you together we can get registered. We can also ensure that our names are on that list. Don't just trust, but verify. And when we verify, we empower others by encouraging them, hey, let us go check your name, verify. And all along, it stretches out. And so we wouldn't get everything, but because we keep pedaling forward in unity, we can make that difference by stunningly press the X by using our index finger to vote the corrupt PPP regime out of office. And how can we do it again? By the use of our index finger. So remember, get registered. Why? We need to put Guyana back on the map where all of us can benefit as a people. One nation, one destiny. You understand? We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Together in unity, we can make that difference. Thank you.
Well said, Jason. The Cooperative Republic of Guyana, a sovereign nation indeed. That's what we want to be known as. Not us having to run out to all different countries to get them to make decisions concerning issues in Guyana. We want to be able to handle our issues. We want our politics in Guyana to grow stronger. We want corruption out of our politics. I want to see more career politicians in Guyana. Jason, thank you so much for joining. And I want to thank all our listeners and viewers for allowing us to come into their homes this Saturday evening. If you may be on the road, I ask that you be careful as you traverse the roads. I noticed this week we didn't have much accidents. Jason, let's continue our plead with all the drivers on the road. Don't just drive for yourself, but drive for others also. Pedestrians, be focused. Don't be focusing your cell phone. You're crossing the street. Pay attention. All right. Again, we thank you for joining us. Again, this program was brought to you by Linder's Restaurant and Bakery. You can connect up with Linder's. It's located on Church Avenue between 53rd and 54th Street. I was there just the other day, man. So you guys, I encourage you guys to go to Linder's. And of course, Exquisite Hair Palace and its owner, Mr. Clive Fraser. Clive, if you're watching, a pleasant good evening to you. You want to get your hair done, you want to get your nails done, you want to get a haircut for men, please visit Exquisite Hair Palace, located on Church Avenue, right opposite Linder's, in between East 53rd and 54th Street. And of course, by Benchap Consultancy, Immigration and Law, you can contact Mark. He will take care of any immigration need you may have. Don't be afraid. Mark is here to help you. Thanks again, everyone, for joining, and have a pleasant evening. Jason, take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, will make your praises so. Lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, will make your praises so. Come out the 14 and into 15 and make your praises so. Come out the 14 and into 15 and make your praises so. Lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, will make your praises so. Lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, will make your praises so. I make money down and a man hold me hand and I make a praises so. I make money down and a man hold me hand and I make a praises so. Stupid Gary, let's shame mommy, go marry, go one gold ring, stupid gold ring, stupid lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, will make your praises so. Lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, will make your praises so. This make a present, I make a present, this make a present so. This make a present, I make a present, this make a present so. Lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, will make your praises so. Lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, will make your praises so. He make a present, she make a present, you make a present so. He make a present, she make a present, you make a present more. Lily gal, lily gal, lily gal, lily gal.